In 2008, a company sold over $500 million worth of blankets with sleeves, and everyone thought it was a joke. The product was a blanket with sleeves. That's it, a blanket with sleeves, which is basically just a robe that forgot how to open in the front. People laughed at it, made fun of it, called it the dumbest thing they'd ever seen, and then they bought 30 million of them. This is the story of the Snuggie, and it might be the greatest example of accidental marketing genius the world has ever seen. Let's get into it. To understand the Snuggie, you have to understand the man behind it. Scott Boylan was the CEO of All Star Products Group, a direct response marketing company based out of New York. Direct response marketing is a very specific kind of business. You've seen it your whole life without realizing it. It's the infomercials, the as-seen-on-TV products, the call now and we'll throw in a second one free, guys. These people are not selling products. They are selling solutions to problems you didn't know you had. And Scott Boylan was very, very good at finding those problems. In 2007, he came across a simple concept, a blanket with armholes cut into it so you could stay warm while keeping your hands free. The idea wasn't new. A company called Snuggie had actually been selling something almost identical since 1998. A guy named Gary Clegg had invented it in his college dorm room when he wanted to stay warm while using his laptop. The Snuggie existed. It worked. It was a perfectly fine product. But it had one problem. Nobody had ever marketed it properly. And Scott Boylan looked at the Snuggie and saw $100 million hiding in plain sight. Here's what most people don't understand about the Snuggie. The product itself was not the innovation. The commercial was the innovation. Scott and his team sat down and wrote one of the most deliberately over-the-top infomercials ever produced. They showed people struggling, dramatically, absurdly struggling, with regular blankets. Blankets sliding off their shoulders, blankets getting in the way of the remote control, blankets making it impossible to answer the phone. The actors looked miserable, defeated, completely undone by the simple act of sitting under a blanket. And then, salvation. The Snuggie. Suddenly, everyone was smiling, reading books, answering phones, cheering at football games, sitting around campfires, all while wrapped in what was essentially a backwards robe. The commercial aired in late 2008, and the internet absolutely lost its mind. But not in the way you'd expect. People weren't buying it because they loved it. They were buying it because it was a joke. Sound familiar? The Snuggie went viral before going viral was even really a thing. This was 2008. YouTube was still young. Twitter had just launched. Facebook was mostly college kids. And yet somehow the Snuggie commercial spread everywhere. Talk shows mocked it. SNL made fun of it. Every comedian in America had a Snuggie bit. The commercial became a meme before memes were the dominant language of the internet. And every single time someone made fun of it, every single time a late-night host held one up and laughed, All Star Products Group sold more Snuggies. Because here's the psychological trick that Scott Boylan either planned brilliantly or stumbled into accidentally. When something becomes a cultural joke, it becomes a cultural touchstone. And cultural touchstones make incredible gifts. Just like the pet rock, just like the fidget spinner. The Snuggie wasn't something you bought for yourself. And it was something you bought for your weird uncle at Christmas, your co-worker for the office gift exchange, your college roommate as a gag, and then your weird uncle actually used it and loved it and bought 3 more. Let's talk about the commercial itself for a second, because this is where the genius really was. The Snuggie team did something that almost no marketer would ever do on purpose. They made their product look ridiculous. The actors in the commercial look like they're wearing cult robes. The family sitting around the campfire looks like they're about to sacrifice something. The people at the football stadium look absolutely unhinged. And that was the point. The ridiculousness was the marketing. Because in a world where every product commercial is polished and perfect and aspirational, a commercial that looks slightly insane stands out completely. You remembered the Snuggie commercial because it was weird. You talked about the Snuggie commercial because it was funny. And the moment you talked about it, you were doing their marketing for free. Scott Boylan had accidentally, or very deliberately, figured out that in the attention economy, absurdity is the most efficient form of advertising that exists. Now let's talk about the money, because the numbers on this one are genuinely staggering. The Snuggie launched in October 2008 at a retail price of $19.95. By the end of 2008, just 2 months after launch, they had sold 4 million units. 4 million units in 2 months. At $19.95 retail, with production costs estimated at around $4 to $6 per unit. That's a profit margin of roughly 70 to 75% on a blanket with sleeves. By the end of 2009, the first full year on the market, Snuggie had generated over $200 million in revenue. $200 million from a backwards robe. And it didn't stop there. All-Star products kept expanding. They launched Snuggies for dogs, Snuggies in camouflage print, Snuggies with NFL team logos, Snuggies for kids, designer Snuggies, zebra print Snuggies. They turned a joke product into an entire product line. By 2013, 5 years after launch, total Snuggie sales had crossed 30 million units worldwide. 30 million units. Total estimated revenue across the entire Snuggie run? $500 million. From a blanket with sleeves that the entire country spent 2 years making fun of. And what about the slanket? The original blanket with sleeves that the Snuggie was based on? Gary Clegg, the college kid who actually invented the concept, watched the Snuggie become a $500 million phenomenon while his product sat in relative obscurity. He never sued. He couldn't. The concept wasn't unique enough to be fully protected. He did eventually get some attention as the original, and the slanket carved out its own niche market. But the slanket never came close to the Snuggie's numbers, because Gary Clegg had the idea. Scott Boylan had the marketing. And in the consumer products world, marketing beats invention every single time. Here's what makes the Snuggie story different from the pet rock and the fidget spinner. The pet rock was a one Christmas wonder, gone in 6 months. The fidget spinner was a 6-month craze, dead by the end of the year. The Snuggie kept selling, and it's still sold today. You can buy one on Amazon right now for $19.99, basically the same price as 2008. And people still buy them. Why? Because somewhere along the way, the Snuggie stopped being a joke and just became a product. It crossed a line that almost no viral product ever crosses. It went from being something people bought ironically to something people bought because they actually wanted it. That transition from joke to legitimate product is almost impossible to engineer intentionally. The pet rock couldn't do it. The fidget spinner couldn't do it. The Snuggie did it almost by accident, and that's what turned a funny infomercial into a $500 million brand. So what's the actual lesson here? It's not make a ridiculous product and get rich. It's something more specific than that. The Snuggie succeeded because it solved a real problem, staying warm with your hands free, while wrapping that solution in something so absurd that people couldn't stop talking about it. The product worked, the marketing was insane, and the combination of those two things created something unstoppable. Most products that go viral are either functional but boring, or entertaining but useless. The Snuggie was both functional and entertaining. That combination is incredibly rare. And Scott Boylan either knew exactly what he was doing, or he got very, very lucky. Honestly, probably a little of both. One ridiculous commercial, one backwards blanket, one country that couldn't stop laughing, and $500 million. From something nobody took seriously. That's accidental millions. If you've been watching this channel and you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button right now. We drop new videos every week, and the stories only get more ridiculous from here.